All right, guys, obviously still a lot of reaction to be had. The Ohio State-Notre Dame top 5 matchup last night. I'm going to give my overall game grades. How concerned should we be about this Ohio State offense? We were expecting fireworks, and they ended up scoring 21 points. We had JSN getting injured early, which seemed to completely throw the offense out of sync. So first, we'll go offensive grades, then defense. Just the offense as a whole, I'm going to give a D+. The 21 points, if you were to tell me before the game that Ohio State's offense scores 21 points, I would have said we lose. This game was completely controlled by Notre Dame. They wanted a low-scoring game, and at least in the first half, they were in total control. I think this is a great sign that Ohio State can win games like this, and we'll talk about the defense and the changes and the defensive line being faster and things like that. But just from an offensive perspective, JSN gets injured, first drive, everything is out of sync, and it seemed like through much of the first 3 quarters, CJ Stroud only wanted to throw the ball to Emeka Egbuka. CJ was off. He missed Marvin Harrison for a touchdown who was open. He threw it late. You had the rookie mistake with Egbuka towards the end of the second quarter where he should have just sat down. He ends up going across. Ball is behind him. It's incomplete. That was a 3rd and 6. That sets up the missed field goal. Offensive blunder after offensive blunder. How about, I believe this was in the middle of the second quarter, Ohio State has 2nd and 2. I believe it was a Mayan Williams 8-yard carry. You've got 2nd and 2. CJ Stroud is rolling out wide open on the sideline. Marvin Harrison Jr., he short hops him. Just a crazy, uncharacteristic, inaccurate throw. Then on 3rd and 2, Ryan Day puckers up, runs it up the middle. Mayan Williams gets stuffed. This offense, that is completely inexcusable. 2nd and 2, you should never be punting. If you have a 2nd and 2, that is unbelievable that they ended up punting after having a 2nd and 2. In my opinion, just ridiculous. So guys, the offense, again, I give it a D+. How good is Notre Dame's defense? I don't think we're going to know for at least a few weeks. The problem with Notre Dame, and I'm just warning people, Notre Dame might lose 4 games this year. Like, we think this win, it's a top 5 win. I'm sure Notre Dame's not going to drop very much at all, in the rankings right now. Notre Dame has a neutral site game with BYU. BYU is going to be a very tough team. They've got a road game with USC at the end of the regular season. They've got North Carolina on the road. They've got Clemson at home. They could very easily lose 4 games, and this win might really be neutered from that perspective. I give the offense a D+, but I am not concerned about the offense at all. This is simply early season struggles. This is literally the perfect storm of your number 1 wide receiver, the best wide receiver in college football, getting injured the first time he touches the ball. And it's a situation where they were able to grind it out when I know Ryan Day got some criticism for his play calling. I agree in certain situations the play calling is just, it's too bland, and then people wanted him to run the ball. They do end up running the ball, and you had the long drive with Mayan Williams, which kind of iced the game and made it a 2-score game. So the offense overall, not worried as long as Jackson Smith-Njigba comes back. He doesn't have to play against Arkansas State or Toledo, really. There's no real reason you want him back for that Week 4 game. That'll be another measuring stick game versus Wisconsin, who looks pretty good, although they faced an FCS team. That is what it is. CJ Stroud, 223 yards, 6.5 yards average. The offense, it just felt like the offense was pulling teeth all night. There were no long games. I understand that was Notre Dame's game plan. They wanted to keep everything in front of them, but just no explosive plays. Trevion Henderson actually carried the ball 15 times, which kind of surprised me when I saw the overall numbers. I thought he got less carries. Mayan Williams and Trevion, both very similar numbers, 6 yards per carry. Both had longs of about 15 yards. And then CJ Stroud obviously is not going to run the ball. Ohio State fans, once again, I saw clamoring for C.J. Stroud to run the ball. C.J. Stroud is a pocket passer. He's just not going to run the ball. Would we love to see him run it? In worst case scenario, 3rd and 3, there's a free first down, just run? Yes. But C.J. Stroud is not going to design runs. He is a pocket passer, guys. He's not going to run. And then you take a look at the receivers. Ibuka, 9 catches for 90 yards. I thought it was a good game for Emeka. I thought there were a few times when they threw him screens and he kind of misread his blockers. Like he should have went outside. He goes inside. He should have stayed inside. He goes out there a few times, but he's a young player. He'll be fine. Obviously, the touchdown, great to see, 90 yards. Very good. Marvin Harrison Jr., I thought kind of got screwed. There were a few plays where he was open. The ball placement was just not good in a couple scenarios down each of the sidelines. Xavier Johnson, the huge touchdown. Notre Dame sends the blitz on 3rd down. Ohio State, thank God they picked it up long enough to get the ball out. And then really good play on special teams. And then there you can see, the tight end, Cade Stover, 3 catches, 14 yards. You had Jackson Smith-Njigba, 2 catches for 3 yards. I'm kind of surprised they brought JSN back out there. It looked like he was limping. I mean, if he can't play, he can't play. There's no reason to use him as a decoy. Don't get him injured anymore. It is what it is. And then going to the defense. So I will give the defense an A. Very close to an A+. I don't think they generated any turnovers. That was kind of Notre Dame's game plan. They wanted to be very safe. And also, the one thing I'll say, let's not completely overreact. Notre Dame is starting a brand new quarterback with a brand new head coach. And I was a little bit surprised at how slow the tight end Michael Mayer was. I understand he's a big boy, but he is a slow tight end. But either way, Tommy Eichenberg, the best performance there. He had 2 sacks, 3 total tackles for loss. On the defensive line, it was Michael Hall. The defensive line as a whole was so fast. They had very little sack opportunities. It was Notre Dame's game plan to make it as easy as possible on Buckner, get the ball out really quickly in a hostile environment. They did that. Other than that first weird play of the game when they had like a 55-yard gain, no explosive plays given up. And then the secondary, I really can't even give the secondary a legitimate grade or opinion. It was just a situation where they were trying to get the ball out quick. There will certainly be situations throughout the regular season where the defense will be tested more. Denzel Burke, kind of a weird catch by that receiver, like triple bounce, whatever. I'm not worried about that. So the defense overall good. Looking at the total numbers, Notre Dame only 12 first downs. Ohio State had 22. Almost 400 yards of total offense. I would say that's probably pretty low for Ohio State. Notre Dame at 253. So the Buckeyes did outgain them by right around 150 yards, which it's respectable. I would think it would have been a little bit more. And then you can take a look at the total time of possession. Ohio State actually had the time of possession, really ball controlling the fourth quarter with those 2 major drives, especially that drive, the Mayan Williams touchdown drive at the end. The penalties, 7 penalties, 75 yards. It is what it is. There were a few penalties that I thought were ridiculous. I understand by the letter of the law, I guess it's the right call. But the problem is some of these referees have to start understanding context. And if you guys, I'm sure a lot of people remember what I'm talking about on the Tyler Buchner slide, where Ohio State got flagged 15 yards for unnecessary roughness. I think it was Ranson who got flagged for it. It was 3rd down. It was like 3rd and 10. You're not expecting a quarterback, even though it's a quarterback, to give himself up 7 yards before the first down marker and punt. You're expecting him to try and fight forward, and also understanding that Buchner is a running quarterback and he's absorbed and, shown the ability to take hits. You can't that was such a bang play, and in the situation, in the context, nobody is expecting a quarterback to give himself up on 3rd and 10, 6 yards before the first down marker. Ohio State gets hit with the 15-yard penalty, automatic first down. That was a bad call. Of course, there's no nuance with the booth with Herb Street and then be like, oh, by the letter of the law. Yeah, but what about the context of the play? It's 3rd and 10. The defender is not expecting Tyler Buchner, who is a running quarterback, who has shown the ability that he's fine with absorbing contact earlier in the game. He does a late slide and gets a free 15 yards when they would have had to punt on 4th and 7. Folks, we have to use context. That is not a good call. But by the letter of the law and not being nuanced, it is a good call because he was sliding and he lunged forward right as he was sliding and it was bang, bang. How about you understand that it's 3rd down? The defender is not expecting the QB just to give himself up 7 yards before the 1st down marker. I thought that was a terrible call, but of course it gets completely glossed over. Not blaming the refs at all, whatever. Ohio State won. So just from an Ohio State perspective, I give the offense a D+. Not concerned at all. This is one of those early season weird games. CJ Stroud was off. He was rattled due to Smith-Njigba being out. But overall, the offense is going to be fine. The running backs were great, but you have to give them a D+. I mean, there were just no explosive plays. I understand that was Notre Dame's game plan, but still, you should be able to generate something. Even in the second half, it was pulling teeth. Each drive was turning. You know, there was like play after play after play where Ohio State is literally catching the ball right off the ground. Like, it was just like, oh, it was so painful to watch them try and go down the field because every play, I mean, credit Notre Dame. Maybe Notre Dame has a good defense. Let's hope. I'm sure they do have a good defense. Hopefully they have an elite defense. I'm concerned that this win will be neutered if Notre Dame loses to BYU, they lose to Clemson, they lose to USC. They've got a tough game against a North Carolina team that has a really good offense all of a sudden, even without Josh Downs playing. That is the concern with Notre Dame. I know they have Marshall next week and then also an easy matchup week 3, and then I think they have UNC. So Notre Dame is not going to fall at all in the AP poll, or if they do, it'll be like a few spots, whatever. They're still going to be a top 10 team. The question is, how good is Notre Dame? How much of it was Ohio State's offense just being completely out of rhythm, which I think was a lot of it, honestly. We will end up seeing what happens with Notre Dame. I do think they have a talented team. Marcus Freeman is a really good defensive coach, no doubt about it. And then the offense should also open up. They were very conservative throughout this game. It's like they got a 10-7 lead and they wanted to try and run the entire clock out. You just cannot do that and win games. So I think the biggest takeaway of this game, very similar to the Oregon game, except now Ohio State actually has a defensive coordinator. I really think that's the biggest difference. Ohio State with a defensive coordinator forces punts. Finally, their offense is able to break through. Still some problems on offense similar to early last year, but this time the Buckeyes had the defense. Yes, they were helped by Tyler Buchner and his lack of experience and Notre Dame's simplistic game plan, but you have to think, if Ohio State is scoring 21 points last year, they're probably losing that game against the top 10 team. Or we don't know how good Notre Dame is. Maybe Notre Dame will lose 4 games and they're not that good. I don't know. But Notre Dame has shown the ability to be a top 10 team in the past few years. So let's hope that is the case for Ohio State in terms of their overall resume and stuff. And then looking forward, you've got a team like Arkansas State. It is what it is. I think they'll probably be like 50-point favorites. I know Arkansas State destroyed Grambling like 52-3 or something when I saw that game. But yeah, they're going to crush Arkansas State. Stroud will probably only play the first half. He'll throw his 5 touchdowns, and then we will see McCord and then maybe even Devin Brown against Arkansas State, because these next 2 weeks are really just, the foot is off the gas at this point. I mean, you've got Arkansas State and you've got Toledo, and then you get a great measuring stick game at home against Wisconsin, which I think will be great, hopefully, for the offense to show, with hopefully Smith-Njigba healthy. They will show some explosiveness. Wisconsin is a very solid team. They've got a really good running back, and they always have a good defense. So Ohio State, this game's at home. You expect to win. And then also the other thing, of course, Ohio State did not cover the spread against Notre Dame. The spread was -17. The Buckeyes won by 11. And then the over-under was 59 or something. And it was way, way, way under that. So this was a game, this is the exact type of game Notre Dame wanted. And Ohio State said, you know what? We will adapt. We will slug this thing out. Our offense is out of sync. We'll run the ball. They were able to do it. I understand people are pissed off at the offense and whatever, but let's not overreact like we did last year when we said we wanted to bench C.J. Stroud, because a lot of the fan base did say that, and let's not try and overreact and do things like that. Let's understand it's early in the season. It helps that this is a win and not a loss for sure. And then Notre Dame, how about the home and home with Notre Dame next year? It should be even tougher for Ohio State because Buchner will be a second-year quarterback. Ohio State will have a brand new starting quarterback going to South Bend. So this is just a situation that we will see. Also, we've got Georgia. People are saying Georgia should pass Ohio State now. They passed Ohio State in the ESPN FPI. So that is a storyline. This is a thing I've said from the beginning. I'm not worried about Georgia at all. That's another conversation for another day. That was kind of like a sham game against Oregon. If you guys saw some of the quotes that came out of that game, it was a total joke. What happened with that game? Total joke with the whole Kirby Smart thing, things like that. So, guys, that is the official stuff. I give the offense a D+. The offense gets a D+. The defense, to me, gets an A, almost an A+. So we will see, but guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.